Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Papa D's. Today we're going to be preparing prawn curry. Now you're going to tell me that you said you're going to do things in 10 minutes. How do we prepare prawn curry in 10 minutes? Well, over the years I've learned how you can save time in the kitchen. For instance, tomatoes, one of your main ingredients in your prawn curry. If you normally cook them through, it could take you at least 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes you get tomatoes that don't cook too quickly. So what I've done here is I've used canned tomatoes. Usually you get the Italian ones, which are much nicer. The other thing is, as much as I'm averse to using frozen vegetables or canned vegetables and stuff like that, I'm quite happy about using canned tomatoes. The tip for today is that your normal tomato, when you cook it, has a higher acidity than the canned tomato. So we're going to go with canned tomatoes. And then the other thing that takes a lot of time is your onion. Now you'll notice what I've done here is I've used the ready fried onion. Alright? But if you use this just like this is not going to dissolve in your curry. And you're eventually going to, and it's pretty hard by now. So what I'm going to do is place this into a bowl with hot water. And this will then soften. The other ingredients that we need for today, I prefer using olive oil, but as I've told you before, it's quite okay to use your regular cooking oil. So what we're using here today is red crushed chilies, our mustard seed, crushed fresh garlic, salt, and of course our turmeric. You'll notice that I do not use too many spices, because eventually your curries cannot be differentiated from one from the other. This way, these are the spices that I found most pertinent to a nice prawn curry. The other must-have in any prawn dish is butter. Whether you're going to grill them or you're going to fry them, you're going to do whatever to them. And even in a prawn curry, the butter will actually differentiate your prawn curry from a normal curry. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to get started by placing this into some hot water. So what we're going to do now is another thing that I've found, that many people cook most of the ingredients all together. Now here's the problem. If you take prawns are very delicate. They don't really need much time to cook. Right? Now we're going to cook them with the tomatoes and with all of that. By the time all your other ingredients are cooked, your prawns will have disintegrated virtually in your pot. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to start the curry off, and I'm adding some mustard seeds, and I'm going to use the garlic as well now. As I said, garlic and butter are must-have ingredients in your prawn preparations, whether it's grilled or fried or whatever. The garlic and the butter just seem to marry very well with this dish. I'm just getting this. Here's another thing to be careful about. Mustard seeds also splatter. So just be careful that you don't get them splattering all over you. Right? I've got that done. I'm going to now add in my coarse red chilies. You can use this to taste. Some of the chilies we use are not too strong, so you can actually use more. I'm going to add some salt now. And finally, the turmeric powder. Not too much though, but like I said, I like the flavor of the turmeric and also the color that it lends. I'm just braising the spices slightly, and now we're ready to add our ingredients. What I'm going to do now is take the onions, I've prepared some already, and add them to the blender. This is what they look like after they've been immersed in boiling water for about 10 minutes. So that obviously is going to save you a lot of time. So all I'm going to do now is give this a quick whisk in the blender. I've left some of the water in as well because you will be needing a bit of gravy. A quick whisk. It's entirely up to you. If you want your onions very smooth, then fine. And if you want them still to be a bit coarse, then you're welcome. Just blend it for a little less time. I'm going to add this now directly to the spices. I'm going to add in some of the curry leaves. That should about do it. And now I'm going to puree the onion, the tomato, because these are coarse, they're chopped and already cooked. So all I need to do is also just smoothen them out. Alright, I'm going to now turn up the heat slightly and get this to cook. Believe it or not, but your prawn curry is almost ready. Don't be afraid to taste. I'm just going to add a little more salt. So I'm leaving this to cook slowly, and I'm going to go on to the next step. As I mentioned to you, you could use your tawa at home or even maybe a thick-based pot. But unfortunately, if you use it on a stove, you can't regulate the heat, and that would actually create a bit of a problem. So what we need to do is, what I prefer doing is I use the electric wok. It heats up very quickly. And I'm going to get it up to about 180 degrees roughly. We can always turn it down. As fast as this heats up, if you can have a look at the curry, you can already see the water is almost burnt out already. And you've got a nice thick texture. If you should want to thin it a bit, you can always do that. I'm going to remove this from the fire in the meantime while we prepare our prawns. The wok is ready, and as much as I'm going to use the butter, to do the prawns, I'd rather use a bit of olive oil again. Alright? Remember, you can get these ready prepared prawns from our deli. Alright, I've just added a little bit of olive oil here. I've brought the temperature down to about 100 degrees. I don't want it too hot because then the prawns are going to curl up. Now, the other problem we face when we prepare prawns in a curry, they all curl up and the skin tightens, and then you've got to fight to get the prawn out of there. So this way, we're butterflying the prawns and putting them in a pan, and this is such a quick process. So what happens here is that you can actually give them a light grill here and then place them back into your curry, which is already ready there. I'm turning the temperature up to about 140 degrees so that we can get a nice sizzle and just seal the meat of the prawns. Remember not to overcook your prawns. Now, how do you know that your prawns are almost ready? Basically, you'll see the change in the color. It's turning a nice pinkish color, and it's telling you that it's almost done. I'm going to cook it a little longer and then flip it over so that it can cook from the other side as well. The temperature needs to be more like 160 degrees on a wok like this. But the nice thing is that once you set it at that, you know that the temperature is going to be constant and you'll be able to get a nice finish on the prawns. I'm going to flip them over to see how far they are. You could stop here now, but can you see it's browning a little there? I think I want them to just brown slightly more and then we can take them out. Okay, you just stay on here, right? Can you see the nice brown on the end there? It's beautifully sealed. And also you'll notice the meat is now separating. Now the final cooking of the prawn will happen in your curry because obviously your curry is also hot, and there we are. That's beautifully brown. So your prawns are now ready. And we're now going to fold this over into the curry. And that'll mean your curry is ready. So going back to the curry here, you've noticed I haven't yet put my butter in. You'll notice I haven't yet put my butter in. I always prefer putting the butter in towards the end because if you put it in too early, the butter also burns out and you lose the flavor of the butter. I'm going to add a nice generous portion of butter, because I want that butter flavor and I want this to taste different from the other curries. My curry has thickened quite a bit, so I'm just going to thin it down a bit with a little bit of water. This dish is well served with rice. I usually serve it with a savory rice. And as accompaniment, you could always have either fried potato wedges or even chips as an accompaniment. But as a main meal, I like to serve my prawn curry with a rice. Either white plain savory rice just with vegetable, or even a savory rice with a bit of aromat in it that'll give it a bit of a yellowish color. My prawns are now absolutely done, and I'm just going to fold them in here. You notice the juice is still flowing out of it, so you haven't dried the prawn out, and yet it is perfectly cooked. So always try and add your prawns. If you have guests coming over, I would even suggest prepare your prawns completely, keep them ready. Prepare your curry, keep it completely ready. Because once you have your prawns in there, you don't want to keep spooning it and breaking up the prawns. So this way, your prawns remain whole And as soon as your guests come, heat your curry up, add your prawns and serve. Our prawn curry is now ready to be served. Alright, our prawns are now ready, and I'm going to start serving them. So what I've done here now, I can actually tell you something. The aromas are amazing because you've got the prawns, you've got the butter. You know, prawns have their own aroma, of course, when they're cooking as well. So you've got the garlic, the butter, all the aromas coming through. I'm just going to thin my gravy a little bit more so that I can now turn it into more of a curry. It's a bit thick now. Now that I have the space in the pot, I can actually turn on the heat a bit. Take a little taste. Yes, I think everything's fine. The curry leaves, the garlic, the butter, and you know, amazingly, the onion that we used has just got a flavor of its own. Compared to your conventional onions, this really is different. And you'll actually find that your gravy has a much thicker and richer texture. Could thin it more if you like, but that should be about fine. If you're serving this in a deeper bowl, obviously it'll be a lot easier, and more so if you're not individually plating it, it will also make it a lot easier, because then you can place it all in a deep bowl and serve it. For now, your portion of prawn curry with savory rice is ready to be served. I'm going to garnish it with a bit of green chili and a slice of lemon, and we're ready to go. You could also add some curry leaves on the top. And remember, the tedious thing about prawns is actually the cleaning and deveining, and that's the messy part. So don't worry about that, because here at Papa D's we've got the prawns ready, clean, deveined and marinated, and you could get it with the different butters to go with it. Piri piri butter, lemon butter, garlic butter. So don't stress. The next time you want to cook a prawn dish and you think it's too much work, as you've seen, we've done it in about 10 to 15 minutes. So please enjoy, and we'll see you on our next segment at Papa D's. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.